Hi, I'm back here in Sheikh District, which is about 4 hours north of Hargeisa. We drove up here this afternoon. We came up so that I can photograph and document the handover ceremony for DDG's Community Safety Planning Program. Basically, the DDG works with communities over several weeks to devise strategic safety planning, which sort of involves a fair amount of envisioning about what the community wants the security situation to look like in the future. And so this sort of signifies DDG's stepping back a little bit, continuing to provide some strategic advice, but ultimately turning control of the implementation stage of the program over to the people. So apparently it's pretty festive. A lot of people come out for it. There's singing and dancing and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be cool for pictures and video and just a general interesting cultural experience that I'll have tomorrow. I wanted to show you some basic things about the way that we operate here. When everybody arrives to work for DDG in Somaliland, you're issued 3 forms of communication. This is a two-way radio that you can use to get in touch with anybody in the organization, drivers, other expat staff, security personnel, all that kind of stuff. It has a panic button, this orange button, in case you panic, which you hope you don't. This is a Thuraya satellite phone, which works obviously through the satellite system and doesn't hold charges very well, so you're lucky if it's working. You could charge it the whole night and it'll say it's full, and then if you let it go a day, the thing will be dead. And this is just a basic cell phone that you get issued when you arrive, which effectively functions in the place of a satellite phone because the network systems have become so good really all around the world, even in a place as remote as here. You know, I've even been calling home on this phone regularly, so it's nice and comforting to have these 3 methods of communication, because despite the fact that this part of Somalia has this sort of fragile level of stability, there's certainly still a fair amount of threats that you're facing, and it's nice to know that you have several options of communicating with people. DDG takes security seriously, as a lot of the organizations do. After a series of bombings that happened in October of last year, so this previous fall, a lot of organizations left Somaliland, and those that stayed really refined and enhanced their security posturing. So yeah, you know, you can see they talk at times, you know, the main threat here is the same kind of thing that you hear about in the news, about piracy and you know, abductions and ransoming and stuff like that have become, you know, some means of subsistence for people along the Gulf of Aden coast, mostly in Puntland, but there have been some instances also in Somaliland. And when you go there, when you go to a place like Berbera, which we came through on the way to here, which is on the Gulf of Aden, you look at the conditions there, it's easy to see why people would feel like they're in a tight enough spot that they might turn to something illicit like ransoming and kidnapping and stuff like that. I mean, I've never really been to someplace quite as in quite a state of decay, and with the kind of history that's evident in the architecture and structures and stuff in Berbera. Obviously, at one point, it had been quite a destination for colonials, but you know, years of war and weak government and stuff, you know, has really left it's the shell of what it once used to be, and it has been, there's a lot of war damage and stuff, and the government's ability to deal with these things here is really limited. There is a functional government to some extent, certainly more so than there are in other places of Somalia, but its capacities are really limited. Even when you drive around, you can see that the government's ability to deal with basic things, for instance, buildings that have been destroyed by fighting in the past, they all still remain in the same condition and people still live in them. When you drive around on the roads here, you know, you see bombed out tanks and armored personnel carriers and stuff that have been sitting there for more than a decade because the government just doesn't have the ability to clear it up. Same kind of condition in Berbera. There's a huge hospital that, as I understand, was built by the Russians. That's just sitting there right on the coast, and it's empty and abandoned, which I presume is just another indication of government weakness here. It's not able to sustain the operation of that hospital due to financial reasons or manpower. It's an interesting place. I don't actually care to get any closer to a lot of what people have as their understanding in Somalia. You know, regions of South Central and even Puntland, just because the security there is, you know, is non-existent. But you know, people say that this is sort of the most advanced and complicated political crisis currently, exceeding even a place like Iraq. So if you can imagine, you know, how difficult it is to try to strike any kind of balance that suits everybody in Iraq. People say that Somalia is significantly worse. So I'm really glad that I came up here, and I like this part of Somaliland much better than Hargeisa. You can't really tell by what you can see on camera, but this really is a beautiful place. I always prefer environments where there are fewer people and less chaos, and you can kind of focus on a little bit more on what you're here to do, rather than constantly trying to suss out these kinds of situations. So yeah, cool stuff. I've only got a few more days left, and I'm feeling pretty good.